This is the last time this year. So let me hear you. Good and loud. All right, Gary. A one. A two. A three. Take me out to the...
That is the legend, Harry Caray. And when you think about Harry Caray, that's the person that comes to mind for most people. The older guy, he has huge glasses on, he's leading the crowd and take me out to the ball game. He might be drunk, he might not be drunk. Part of the charm is that he might be drunk. He doesn't seem to care if people think he's drunk. His employer doesn't seem to think that people care if he's drunk. They don't seem to mind. That is the cartoon character Harry Caray. Today on Crafting the Call, we're going to go back in time to listen to when Harry Caray was not a cartoon character. My name is Josh Suchon.
And I'm Jesse Goldberg-Strassler. Josh, I don't know if you know this, but I do sing Take Me Out to the Ball Game every seventh inning stretch for Lansing Lugnuts home games. I am no Harry Caray. There will never be another Harry Caray, but there is just that feeling of it's good for an announcer to lead the crowd at the seventh inning stretch.
How long have you been doing this, Jesse?
Well,
and how did it begin?
When I first joined the Lugnuts, the on-field MC led the crowd and Take Me Out to the Ball Game. And then I'm going to say about a decade ago, we hired a new on-field MC, a person in charge of marketing, who could not carry a tune. So we had our home opener, and after our home opener, the GM walks into the office and says, well, we can't do that again. Can anybody in here sing? And I said, I'll give it a try. He said, you're auditioning tonight. And after that first night, he said, all right, you got it.
Do you end it with let's get some runs the way that Harry did?
I don't. I say, let's go nuts for the Lugnuts. I feel like it's understood as a tribute, but I don't want it to be a ripoff. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. And I feel like anytime that someone does a Harry Caray impersonation, they're actually doing an impersonation of Will Ferrell doing an impersonation of Harry Caray, which is what happens when someone's impersonation is really good and legendary. And when you have the megaphone, that is Saturday Night Live. But that wasn't always Harry Caray. So Jesse, why don't you set the scene for what we're about to listen to and where Harry Caray is in his life?
All right. So born Harry Carabina and born in St. Louis. He's 31 years old when he makes the major leagues with the Cardinals, and it's 1945. Coming right off of World War II, we've got a huge radio boom. And I'm going to quote from Crack of the Bat, History of Baseball on the Radio by James Walker. The St. Louis Cardinals benefited enormously from this. There's nobody in the West. There's nobody in the Southwest. So the Cardinals, their network, it started as 7 affiliates in 1946. It expanded rapidly to 43 stations in 1948, 73 in 1950, 92 in 1954. So they are expanding rapidly across the Midwest, going west, going southwest, and Harry Caray is on the call. So Harry Caray is becoming the voice of baseball for a huge part of this country. And the way that he calls games is, as described in this book, but you don't need this book to tell you, it's fan-centric. It's Homer. It's enthusiastic. Now, what could put Harry Caray on the grand stage? The St. Louis Cardinals reaching the World Series. It's now 1964. It's Cardinals against the powerful New York Yankees. Now, earlier this year in June, Bing Devine, the Cardinals general manager, orchestrates a great trade to pick up Lou Brock from the Chicago Cubs, one of the great swindlings in baseball history. But fast forward a couple of months, the Cardinals are in 5th place. They're 9 games out of first, and it's believed that Harry Caray orchestrates the firing of Bing Devine. It's in fact believed that at the conclusion of this World Series, it's Harry Caray who's been helping Leo Durocher replace the manager Johnny Keane and booting Johnny Keane out of the manager's seat. But this just to give you a feel for the power that Harry is. The Cardinals make the World Series as the Philadelphia Phillies collapse. The way that the radio call and the TV call works in the World Series is you trade broadcasters. And so you work half the team on TV, half the team on radio. So Joe Garagiola and Phil Rizzuto call half the games on TV while Harry Caray is working with Curt Gowdy on the radio call. And when the games are in New York, you've got one team on TV, one team on radio. They switch when the series shifts to St. Louis. Game 3, New York. Harry Caray and Curt Gowdy are on the call. Cardinals at the New York Yankees. Does that set the scene well enough?
Absolutely. And by the way, behind me, that's Sportsman's Park. Before there was Busch Stadium or Busch Stadium 2 or Busch Stadium 3, that's Sportsman's Park. This is kind of the view from the press box that Harry Caray and all these other announcers had.
Josh, you've listened to a lot of demos over the years, right? You've listened to a lot of half innings of play-by-play.
Yes, over 100. And I have driven myself crazy trying to find the perfect demo reel for myself while also critiquing others.
So you and I are going to critique 50-year-old Harry Caray calling the World Series. He gets the first half of the game. Curt Gowdy gets the last half of the game. So if you don't mind, let's travel to the bottom of the second inning. This would be heard on KMOX radio.
We go to the bottom half of the second inning, and Mickey Mantle will lead it off for the New York Yankees. Mantle's had 3 hits in the World Series, 3 out of 9 so far. So he's hitting .333. One of the greatest of the superstars.
By the way, Jesse, I'm going to pause this. Has he said the score yet?
He is not. There's no score.
Okay. All right. Back to it.
This past season, he hit 35 homers, drove in 111 runs, batted .303. Switch hitter, batting right-handed against Curt Simmons. Curt into the wind, and here's the first pitch on the way. It's a fastball, a little bit low. 1 ball to no strikes. Last half of the second inning, no score. The Cardinals put runners at first and third with 2 out, but Maxville popped up. Here's a pitch, swung, bouncing ball to Grote. Big hop, he's got it. There's a throw to first in time. Dick Grote throws out Mickey Mantle. 1 away, and that brings up Elston Howard.
Didn't say what position Dick Grote plays.
Yeah, initial thoughts.
Okay, so there's no score at the start, but 40 seconds in, he gives the score. I think it's such a modern philosophy of calling a pitch to say, fastball, here's where it is. And he is right on it. What do you think?
I like that he recapped what happened previously in the other inning as well, into the wind, Again, I like so far, this is the first time that I've heard this. Jesse found this clip. Fabulous job, Jesse. And I didn't want to hear it before we started to record because I want to hear it for the first time. And I just love, you can tell that it's his voice, but again, it's just a very straightforward call. But that's just a few seconds. Let's keep listening.
Howard hitting .375 in this series. He's driven in 2 runs, no homers. During the regular season, he hit .313. He led all the Yankees in batting average. 15 homers and 83 RBIs. Fella rarely misses an inning behind the plate. Here's the pitch. Curve, strike called. Hit that outside corner, belt high. Simmons is a control pitcher. 1 strike, no balls, 1 out. He has retired 4 men in a row. Here's the pitch on the way to Howard. It's a fastball a little bit low, and it evens it up with a ball and a strike. Boyer at third, Grote at short, Maxville at second, White at first. McCarver crouching, giving the sign. Simmons winding. Here's the pitch on the way. Slow ball outside. He let up that time, and it's 2 balls and a strike on Elston Howard. Tommy Tresh will be next. The Yankees have hit 2 home runs in the World Series, and the Cardinals have had only 1, Shannon's. Linz and Tresh have hit them for the Yankees. Here's the pitch. Strike, a good fastball. Hit the outside corner above the knees. 2 balls, 2 strikes. 1 out and nobody on base. We're in the second inning. Simmons getting ready. The pitch is on the way. Let up and hit up the middle, base hit. He timed the changeup perfectly, and Howard drills one up the middle. There's the first Yankee base runner.
All right, I'm going to pause there, Jesse, because this is a very fundamentally sound. He just reset the infield, the catcher. Slow ball, I like that. Fastball low, I like let up. He says who's on deck. I like how he says that Elston Howard rarely misses a game, kind of goes through his numbers during the regular season. This is a very fundamentally X and O's broadcast so far.
There's something that John Miller focuses on, that it's a rule that he breaks, and then it's on this base hit. What John Miller says is, okay, where's the ball and what's happening to it, right? Have the outfielder retrieve the ball, get it back into the infield. So once again, just like on the play to Grote, there's a lot that's being left out on the play-by-play that we would not say is fundamentally sound. Which position is Grote? This ball is hit up the middle. Tell me the runner. And he's just getting right to the point. It's a base hit. It's a single. It's a ball hit to Grote. It's an out. But everything else, as you say, it is fundamentally right on. And he is on every single pitch.
I like his timing and his pacing too. There's not a ton of let it breathe that's going on. And I think it's because it's early in the game. It's the World Series. There's an intensity to it. You really want to set the stage, remind people who these players are. So I think he's getting in a lot of information without overwhelming the audience so far.
I don't think he's a let it breathe broadcaster.
I don't think he let anything in his life breathe other than having a good time.
Howard singles the center for his fourth hit of the World Series. Here's Tommy Tresh. Switch hitter will bat right-handed against Curt Simmons. Tresh, a fine athlete, great ball player, can do everything. Originally a shortstop, now plays left field for the Yankees. His dad, as everybody knows, Father Mike, was a major league catcher. Here's a pitch, and the curveball is low. Tresh, a very dedicated ball player. No monkey business with him. Takes great pride in his performance and works hard at it. The pitch is on the way, and it's a curved strike called, and that evens it up at a ball and a strike. 1 out, 1 on. We're in the second inning. No score. Curt Simmons getting set. There's the stretch, and the pitch on the way, and it swung, and he missed. And it's 2 strikes and a ball. Frank Clausetti coaching at third base. Jimmy Gleason at first base. Right-hand hitter Tommy Tresh. 1 out, 1 on. The defense against Tresh is straight away, deep to all field. Tresh has good running speed, too. The stretch, the pitch is on the way. Barely missed with it inside, and the count goes 2 balls, 2 strikes. 1 out, Howard, the runner at first base. Howard and Richardson now each have had 4 hits in this World Series to lead the Yankees. The pitch on the way. Curveball, fouled out, a play off to the right. And the count stays the same. Mike Shannon is the only Cardinal to have 4 hits. He's 4 out of 9 in this year's series. 2 balls, 2 strikes. The right-handed batter up there, 1 out. Last of the second inning with no score. Big crowd here at Yankee Stadium. The pitch swung on and fouled again out of play. It looks like Tresh is going the other way with Simmons. Tim McCarver goes out to talk to Simmons. With Wally Moses, the batting specialist of the Yankee coaching staff, around the cage, Tresh was deliberately hitting the ball in the right field during batting practice. And Joe Pepitone really put on an exhibition of power as he hit 6 straight pitches into the third deck during batting practice. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Pepitone will be next. The pitch, a high pop foul, outside first, over into the stands, White chasing it, Maxwell, no play. 2 balls, 2 strikes. 1 out, 1 on. Bottom of the second inning, no score. With Curt Gowdy, this is Harry Caray. Sending every thrilling play your way as the World Series moves into game number 3. 2 balls, 2 strikes. The stretch, the pitch to Tresh, high outside. And now the count is full. With 3 and 2, there's only 1 out. So it isn't automatic that Howard will go. But it may be that he'll be breaking on the 3-2 pitch, hoping to break up any double play. Quick toss to first. The runner back. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Tom Tresh. The pitch. There goes a runner. Fouled back, and again he was trying to hit that ball in the right field. Simmons has been pitching Tresh to the outside part of the plate. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Howard returns to first base. McCarver crouching. Now Simmons gets set. From the belt. Here's the pitch. There goes a runner. Swung on. High pop fly in the infield. It'll be caught. Boyer drifting back in foul territory, and he has it. And there was pitching know-how that time. With 3 and 2, he let up. And Tresh was way out in front for the off-speed pitch and fouled out. Here's Pepitone.
So something that occurs to me, Josh, is this inning began with numbers. There's so many numbers. There's what a batter is hitting in the World Series, who's homered in the World Series, who has 4 hits in the World Series. And because of that, I think Harry is working hard. And it sounds like he's working hard. And now here's our reset. Here's the score. Here's where we are. Here's who's playing here. Here's who's where. And you hear him relax as this half inning goes on, and he's going to tell you his batting practice story of being at the cage and watching Wally Moses, a scout, calls him a hitting specialist, right? We're thinking this is before the time for such a thing, that they brought him in to help out the hitters, and he's helping Tresh go to the opposite field, and he's now foreshadowing Pepitone's power. So I find it fascinating to watch Harry relaxing from numbers into anecdotes, into descriptions, into feel. And I love the analysis of 3-2 change up to get him out in front.
I can relate a lot to what you just said, because especially now that we're a couple of years into the pitch clock era, where the pitch clock is strictly enforced era, you better come back from a commercial break quickly, because the action's going to begin right away. And that's the way that it was for a century of baseball. And I know that a lot of times I'll come back from a break and say, okay, like there's these things I need to say the score. I need to remind people the teams and the inning. And there's sort of like this, okay, there's these things that must be said before we get to the first pitch. Now, back before there was a pitch clock, you'd come back from a commercial break and it'd be another minute before the action was about to start. So there's a live read and there's a reminder of tomorrow's game. And then there's the promotion, and there's maybe you just talked about what happened between innings because they still haven't gotten off the field yet. Back then and nowadays, you got to get right to the action. So I can relate and I can respect, okay, let me get to these things. And now, especially when the catcher went out to the mound, I think that is just an ideal time, Jesse, whether it's to, like Harry did, reset things, which is what you should do in the playoffs. If it's a Tuesday game in June, then it's a good time to remind people about what's coming up on the rest of the homestand, fireworks, giveaways, different things like that. World Series need to be locked in on exactly what's going on. And so I like the way that he just kind of reminded us it's game 3 and reminding us we're at Yankee Stadium, the crowd, all of those things.
We are about to hit a turning point in this half inning. So I want you to put this moment in your back pocket, everything that we have heard up until now and what we're about to hear from this point forward.
Great tease. Let's get to it.
You will see now whether batting practice means anything. Pepitone really had the range, as I mentioned. 6 straight pitches. He belted into the 3rd tier in right field. And that was batting practice. Now he's facing Curt Simmons in the 3rd game of the World Series. They want to look at the baseball. Ken Burkhardt says it's all right. And fires it back into play. Pepitone. There's the stretch. And the pitch. He decked him. Down he went to get out of the way. You know, Pepitone was involved in one of the controversial plays of the series. So Simmons sort of brushed him back. Here's a pitch now. And inside again, almost hit him. And this draws a reaction from the crowd. Joe Pepitone from Brooklyn just celebrated his 24th birthday. 2 balls, no strikes. A runner at first base, 2 gone. Here's the pitch. Curve inside. Ball 3. 3 balls and no strikes on the left-handed batter. Previously in this series, manager Yogi Berra has allowed hitters to swing on a 3-0 pitch. Now here it is. And he takes ball 4. So the Cardinals had 2 men on with 2 out in the top of the second. Now the Yankees have 2 on with 2 out in the bottom of the second. No score, and here's Cletus Boyer.
I love, Jesse, just the foreshadowing. It's adding the drama. But that was batting practice. You know, describing what happened in batting practice. We'll see. You hear all the time. Oh, I was around the cage and talking to so-and-so. But I really like the idea. I mean, he's told us earlier, this guy was trying to hit it toward right field. This guy was launching them out toward left field. And that's where your pregame prep comes in, spending time around the guys. But I just go back to that was batting practice, which is just such a great segue into we'll see if that matters now.
Yes. This is where Harry starts really enjoying himself. Contrast how he's talking about Pepitone compared to his bio of Tom Tresh, where he's reading off who Tresh is, and you know who his dad is. He starts tasting his words here. They ask for the baseball to be looked at. Burkhardt says it's all right. You know, the pitch is inside. Everything that he's doing, he's now tasting the words. You can hear the smile in his voice about the Cardinals knocking down Joe Pepitone. There's a part of Harry that has now come alive. And he's like, all right, let's see what's going to happen now. It's that enjoyment turns up my enjoyment of this half inning.
I'm sensing that as this inning goes on, Harry's kind of like leaning forward a little bit more. You know, maybe he's on his toes. Maybe he was flat-footed when the inning began, and now he's on his toes, kind of leaning in, like kind of maybe rocking back and forth like Leo Mazzoni, you know, the Braves' old pitching coach, kind of, because he just senses something is building here.
I love this kind of broadcasting. I love the kind of broadcasting that causes me to feel something. Now, mind you, you and I are getting smarter because he was at the cage. He knows what they're working on. He knows that Curt Simmons is a smart pitcher and what he's capable of. He knows that these Yankees batters are good and what they're capable of. And so he set the stage for all of this, and then he's right on every pitch.
Like his brother Ken, Cletus goes into this ball game with 1 out of 7, hitting 143. He's driven in a run with a sacrifice fly. Right-handed batter. Curt Simmons getting set. The pitch is on the way. It's a strike. Hit that outside corner at the knee. A good fastball. Simmons picks up a hot dog wrapper and stuffs into his hip pocket. Then takes a squeeze out of the rosin bag. Pepitone is at first. Elston Howard at second. 2 men away. Bottom of the second inning. No score. The stretch. The pitch on the way. A high pop foul. Out of play. Souvenirsville. Some lucky fan will have a baseball to take home.
KMOX and KMOX FM, St. Louis.
2 out, second inning. 0-0. Cletus Boyer, the batter. The sun has gone into hiding now. It's been playing peekaboo with the clouds all day long. Here's the pitch. Line drive, left field, base hit, a run's going to score. Into the corner, another man might have a chance. He's around to third. It's a double for Boyer. The Yankees lead 1-0. Curt Simmons got way out in front of Cletus Boyer. 2 strikes and no balls. and then got the curveball to the inside part of the plate. And Boyer rifled a double into the left field corner. And Elston Howard has scored. Joe Pepitone stopped at third, and Boyer is at second base. 1-0 Yankees in the bottom of the second.
When I listened to that call, Jesse, because I know the dimensions of Yankee Stadium, I think about how maybe that's a ball off the bat that Harry is thinking is going to score 2 because he's used to Sportsman's Park behind me. And I wish he would have, and maybe he's about to do it here, maybe kind of describe the dimensions of if that ball's into the corner, did it kick around? Because he immediately says 1 will score. He's thinking about a second. He goes back and kind of does a reset of the play. But I'm wondering as a fan, how much did the dimensions of Yankee Stadium impact only 1-run scoring?
I don't think he goes back and talks about it at all. I think he just stops right there and moves on to the very next batter. There's no description of the outfielder. There's no naming the runners until after the fact. It's 2 runs might score. Oh, that guy stopped at third. It's a double. It's not great play-by-play, but we do get the fact of the matter, which is 1 run scored, 1-0 Yankees.
All right, let's get back to it. Go ahead, continue.
How good is it to describe Curt Simmons picking up the hot dog wrapper, putting it into his pocket, and then squeezing the rosin bag?
I like that. I also like the sun went into hiding. It's been paying peekaboo with the clouds. I like all of those descriptions. The other thought that I had, though, is that I know this happens to me too. Sometimes you get so into hot dog wrappers and clouds and peekaboos that maybe that just puts you a half second behind the action, or maybe your brain goes into a quick little fog and you don't have memorized who the guys are on the bases. And then all of a sudden here's the pitch and there's action. And maybe that's the little difference between those descriptions. Overall, this is a really fun inning to listen to with Harry. I'm really enjoying a lot of the different things. But again, it just, the focus that you might have, how you might lose it for a half second or a second or two when you start describing hot dog wrappers.
We mentioned the partisan crowd in St. Louis, and you can tell from the roar here on that base hit that this is predominantly a New York Yankee crowd here today, as you would figure it to be. Now here's Jim Bouton, the pitch. There's a high fly ball to left. Brock is under the ball. He'll get it. Makes the catch, and that retires the side. 1 run score, 2 hits, no errors, and 2 men left on base. So at the end of the second inning, the score, New York 1, St. Louis nothing.
All right. Overall thoughts, Jesse, about Harry Caray?
I think that prime Harry Caray would have been perfect in this day and age. He is using numbers. I think if he had statistical analysis at his fingertips, I think he dives right into it. I think he's all over the stats, and he's ready to use the stats to let you know how it's affecting the players. His description is on it. He is watching. He's more poetic than I understood him to be. His imagination is right there. He is feeling each pitch the way he calls it, strike. And then the third thing is he understands baseball. It's clear he understands what makes this pitcher tough, what makes this batter tough. He's watching the positioning. His weakness to me is his call of the action. And I think for exactly the reasons that we said.
Even that last description, here's Bouton. I'm pretty sure that's Jim Bouton, the pitcher. Good reminder about pitchers batted back then. And because Bouton swings at the first pitch, you kind of don't get a whole lot of chance there. But I think that this is an age where, no, all we heard was Harry. He mentioned Curt Gowdy, but we didn't hear Gowdy. I think that the modern broadcast might immediately jump on, oh, wait a minute, you've got the pitcher who's coming up next and you didn't send the runner, or maybe some description of whether there was a chance to send him when the outfielder got to it, when he got it to the infielder. Should they have taken the chance to try to send that runner knowing that the pitcher is coming up? I think all of those things would probably be included in a modern broadcast, but they weren't in that one.
It's the Vin Scully one-man broadcast. So this is solely Harry Caray for the first half of the game, and then it's solely Curt Gowdy for the second half of the game. You went 0-2 on Cleet Boyer, the number 8 hitter, and you gave up an RBI double for the game's first run. With the pitcher on deck. Curt Simmons, you can't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So what else do we have for this episode, Jesse? Set the stage for what's next.
Okay, so I thought it was just really good for you and I to listen to Harry Caray Prime, 1964 World Series, and I want to contrast that as we wrap things up this episode. Let's listen to the game-ending call. So it's the end of the game, so it's Curt Gowdy who delivers it.
Mantle, he's grounded to short. He's walked. He's doubled to right. Facing 38-year-old Barney Schultz. The big Yankee crowd roaring now for some action. There's a high drive. Hit the deep right. And forget about it. It is gone. The ball game's over. Yogi and Mickey have been together for years and years, and Mantle just hit a towering drive into the third deck off one of Schultz's fastball, or knuckleball, one pitch, and Barney Schultz, when he saw that bat connect, he just shook his head and started for the dugout. He knew it was gone. It was a patented Mickey Mantle drive, a towering home run that landed up in about the third or fourth row, the third tier in right field. And Mantle has just broken a World Series record. He now has hit 16 World Series home runs. He and Babe Ruth were tied with 15 apiece.
So, Josh, to set the stage, that Yankees run in the bottom of the second inning is their only run until the bottom of the ninth. It's a 1-1 game. Mickey Mantle comes up to lead things off against the new pitcher, Barney Schultz. Curt Gowdy is on the call. And first pitch, walk-off homer, Yanks win 2-1. This could be one of the great moments in World Series history. And I ask you, how would that moment have been different if Harry Caray had been on that call?
Dramatically different, because Curt Gowdy's, well, he was more understated.
Yes.
Or whereas Harry's enthusiasm, Harry's, even back then at age 50, Harry's enthusiasm, not quite way over the top, but it's going to be a much different call. I feel kind of guilty in saying this because Curt Gowdy is part of the Mount Rushmore broadcasters, but I didn't like the call. Part of it is because it's just the first pitch, but I like that he laid out. But what was the final score? You had to tell me what the final score was, Jesse.
Yeah.
You know, back then you did stay quiet for a super long time. I appreciate that. Then he talks about Yogi Berra, and yeah, it's just kind of,
This is a wild moment. This is the great legend, Mickey Mantle, winning a World Series game in a historic World Series home run that he gets to at the end of it. But there is so much there. I think about Pat Summerall growing up and watching NFL games, and there's the understated Pat Summerall on the national call. Here's the national Curt Gowdy understated on the call, and the crowd is breathing. And yet there is so much there that if you wanted to, if you had the right broadcaster in place, instead of it just being this understated national call, you could make it a tremendous, memorable call.
I want to listen to it again, especially because it just arrived. It arrived so fast because it was the first pitch. So I want to listen to it again. Now that I know what is going to happen, I want to hear it a second time so that I can kind of dive into it a little bit more here.
Mantle, he's grounded to short. He's walked. He's doubled to right. Facing 38-year-old Barney Schultz.
Okay, so he's walked. He's doubled to right, facing 38-year-old. Okay.
Big Yankee crowd roaring now for some action.
Okay, big Yankee crowd roaring for some action.
There's a high drive. Hit the deep right. And forget about it. It is gone. The ball game's over.
He wasn't in front of the pitch. And I want you to think about Harry Caray. How much was Harry Caray not in front of the pitch? He was in front of every single pitch. Harry was ready. But Curt wasn't. Curt was not ready for that pitch.
Sometimes that's what happens when it's the first pitch of an inning. I know that I've had moments where again, you're still trying to set the scene. And, I think you always have to be ready for that first pitch. I think that knowing which hitters are first pitch hitters, I think this is where it really helps. Knowing that, to be alive for that. Sometimes I'll even say on my own broadcast, he likes the first pitch. He swung at the first pitch a lot. I try to keep track of that in my scorebook, both for the audience and for me mentally, so that you get into this. But I know that I've had some times where, I remember this game. Isotopes were playing Reno. It was at Reno. It was the first pitch, bottom of like the 11th or 12th inning of a 0-0 game, and there was a home run. And I didn't hate my call, but I wasn't super proud of it. And part of it is, again, you're trying to build the drama. It's the 12th inning. We still haven't had a run. It's a Pacific Coast League game, and we still haven't had a run. And then boom, all of a sudden the game's over like that. So I can understand how you might be about not quite 100% ready on a first pitch. But again, I think he still needs to give us the score.
It's the Yankee crowd calling out for action, and he declared that in such a way that seemed disconnected. There was a lot there, like they're calling out for action. Okay, great. With great respect to the legend Curt Gowdy, this is a call that I bet you've never heard before. Am I right?
Correct. Yeah. Never.
If I told you Mickey Mantle hit a World Series game-winning home run to break a Babe Ruth record in the bottom of the ninth, you'd say, that seems like that home run might have gone down in history.
And maybe the reason why you think about like the legendary home runs, right? And you think about in modern times, Kirk Gibson, you think about Carlton Fisk, go back further, think about Bill Mazeroski, you think about Babe Ruth and the called shot and different things like that. I feel like this is a home run that as a baseball nerd, I should have top of mind. That Mickey Mantle, Game 3, 1964 World Series, walk off into the third deck. I feel like this should be something that I know. And maybe it's just on me, but maybe part of it is because we don't have the video and or the dramatic audio of a broadcaster nailing the call so that it stays in our mind forever.
I think if Harry Caray had been on this call, I think it might have gone down as one of his most memorable calls. But I also think that it matters that the Yankees lost the World Series. I think it matters that it went 7 games and the Cardinals won it, and therefore Yankee heroics, which were no big thing. They were winning every other World Series. This one they lost. David Halberstam got a great book out of it, but in the end, Game 3 didn't matter.
Do you know, was Curt Gowdy the Yankees play-by-play announcer? Was he national, or what was his background that season?
Voice of the Boston Red Sox.
Oh, that's right. You can hear the New England in Gowdy.
So national call. Like no distinct connection to either one of these teams. If you're a member of one of the fan bases, you of course would say, why was that guy biased against us?
Maybe Gowdy was worried about Twitter crushing him for being too over the top one way or the other.
Yeah. But I appreciate you going on this journey with me back to 1964. Here was how baseball was called back then. And I think it's fascinating to see how things still translate. There's Curt Gowdy doing what we associate with Vin Scully in terms of letting the call breathe. But here is Harry Caray doing so many different things that I would want a young broadcaster to learn from, getting in front of the pitch, introducing people, putting in the time, putting in the back work, being descriptive, and then the next things to build on. All right, now, don't lose track of the names of everybody out there.
I'm really glad that you found this, Jesse. Thank you, because, again, when we think of Harry Caray, we just think of the cartoon character, right? We think of the guy who's older and is singing and might be drunk and is a lot of hey kind of things, as opposed to the I was about to say younger. He was age 50 at the time, but the younger by comparison standards of someone who was really locked in. And there's a reason why Harry lasted that long. You don't start at age 30 as a cartoon character, right? You start as a sort of normal broadcaster, and then you kind of evolve into that over the years.
He was sharp. He connected. You felt what he was feeling. He understood baseball. You could tell that he was out there watching and talking to the players and the coaches. There was a lot there that if you're a listener, he builds that trust that you say, what is Harry going to say here?
He was great. Yeah. This was fun. Well done, Jesse. Thank you.
Hey, I look forward to the next time you and I get together to discuss baseball play-by-play.
Absolutely. He's Jesse. I'm Josh. This is Crafting the Call. We appreciate you listening, and we'll talk to you again next week.